In 2020, a devastating family tragedy unfolded in Los Angeles. Kevin Smith, a prominent real estate company owner, and his wife, Claire Mitchell, were once the picture of happiness, a couple seemingly living the perfect life in the heart of Los Angeles. However, beneath the surface, their reality was far from idyllic. The truth was a dark and painful secret that would ultimately shatter their family and lead to an unthinkable end. Kevin Smith, who was born in 1973, had always been known as a hard-working individual. Raised in a modest family in Los Angeles, he was brought up with strong traditional values and a solid work ethic. From a young age, Kevin exhibited a determined personality and a relentless drive to succeed. He excelled in his studies, consistently earning praise from teachers and peers alike. His dedication was evident not only in the classroom, but also in his commitment to learning new skills outside of school. He participated in various extracurricular activities, ranging from academic clubs to community organizations, always eager to broaden his knowledge and expand his network. After graduating high school with top marks, Kevin pursued a degree in business management at a prestigious university in California. During his college years, he continued to shine, taking on practical projects that honed his professional skills and opened doors to valuable connections. After completing his degree, Kevin embarked on a career in real estate, an industry he believed was ripe with potential. He started at a small real estate firm in Los Angeles, quickly making a name for himself with his sharp market insights and natural leadership abilities. It didn't take long for Kevin to ascend the corporate ladder, but he wasn't content with working for someone else. His ambition drove him to establish his own real estate company, which rapidly grew into one of the leading firms in Los Angeles. Kevin earned a reputation as a visionary businessman, admired for his strategic acumen and respected by his peers in the industry. He was not only successful but also highly disciplined, always managing his time and resources with precision. Kevin constantly sought ways to improve his business strategies, and his relentless pursuit of excellence led to significant achievements, from expanding his company to forging partnerships with major enterprises. However, behind the polished image of a successful entrepreneur, Kevin grappled with immense pressures from both his professional and personal life. These stresses gradually took a toll on him, complicating his existence and making it increasingly difficult to maintain control. Meanwhile, Claire Mitchell, born in 1975, was raised in the suburbs of Los Angeles in an ordinary yet nurturing family environment. From a young age, Claire was known for her gentle, dedicated, and hardworking nature. She was always ready to lend a helping hand, not just within her own family but also to neighbors and friends. Tasks like cleaning the house, caring for pets, or assisting the elderly with shopping were part of her daily routine, reflecting her compassionate spirit. Despite the outward appearance of a harmonious life, the Smith family's reality was marred by a hidden turmoil. Kevin's life took a shocking turn when he became involved in an illicit relationship with his biological daughter, Chloe Smith. This scandalous affair not only shattered the familial bond, but also set the stage for a tragic confrontation filled with tension, betrayal, and heartbreak. The culmination of these events was a devastating climax that would forever alter the lives of those involved. Kevin's story is a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and even the most seemingly successful individuals can harbor dark secrets that lead to their downfall. It's a tale of ambition, betrayal, and the catastrophic consequences of crossing boundaries that should never be breached. Claire Mitchell was known for the joy she brought to those around her. Her kindness and sincerity were qualities that not only defined her character but also made her a beloved and respected figure in her community. Throughout her school years, Claire stood out as an exemplary student, consistently demonstrating diligence and a strong sense of responsibility. Her academic excellence was complemented by her natural ability to organize and manage tasks efficiently. Claire often went out of her way to help her friends with their studies and was always ready to lend a listening ear or offer support whenever someone faced difficulties. These values made Claire more than just a good student. They shaped her into a compassionate friend and laid a solid foundation for her future. As she transitioned into adulthood, Claire continued to embody these traits, showing dedication and diligence in every aspect of her life. Whether in her professional endeavors or personal relationships, Claire always prioritized responsibility and hard work. She was committed to constant self-improvement and maintained strong connections with those around her. Claire was highly regarded not only for her capabilities, but also for her kindness and genuine nature. In her family life, Claire became the epitome of an exemplary wife. She loved and cared for her family with unwavering devotion, ensuring that their home was always neat, organized, and filled with warmth. Claire didn't just fulfill her responsibilities as a wife, she created an environment where every family member felt cherished and supported. Her thoughtfulness, kindness, and patience made her the spiritual anchor of the family. No matter the challenges life threw her way, Claire faced them with optimism and positivity. She firmly believed that with love and dedication, any difficulty could be overcome, and that her family would always be the place where she poured her heart and soul. A fateful meeting. Kevin Smith and Claire Mitchell's paths crossed on a June evening in 1998 at a lavish wedding of a wealthy family in Los Angeles. Kevin, then a young and rising star in the real estate business, attended the event as a guest of the groom. Claire, a charming and graceful woman, was there as a close friend of the bride. As they entered the grand banquet hall that night, neither anticipated that their lives were about to change forever. After the wedding, Kevin and Claire continued to stay in touch quickly, arranging more meetings to get to know each other better. Their early dates were simple yet meaningful: strolls in quiet city parks, romantic dinners at cozy restaurants, and weekend picnics that allowed them to enjoy each other's company in a relaxed setting. They frequently discovered shared interests, from a mutual appreciation for art and music to a love for travel. Kevin often surprised Claire with small, thoughtful gifts, each one carefully chosen to reflect her tastes and interests, while Claire reciprocated with her own gestures of affection, further solidifying their bond. Their connection blossomed into a deep and loving relationship, one that seemed destined to thrive amidst the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles. However, despite the strong foundation they built together, the future would hold unexpected trials that would test their love and commitment in ways they could never have foreseen. With genuine care and affection, the love between Kevin and Claire gradually blossomed and deepened. They became inseparable, a couple admired by friends and family alike as they graced social events with their presence. Kevin and Claire were not just lovers, they were trusted companions who always supported and encouraged each other, whether in their careers or in everyday life. One of their most cherished experiences together was traveling. Kevin and Claire often planned long vacations, journeying to romantic destinations around the world. They visited Paris, where they admired the majestic Eiffel Tower, wandered the ancient streets of Rome, and enjoyed the fresh air and stunning landscapes of the Alps. These trips were more than just opportunities to explore new places. They were moments that brought Kevin and Claire closer, strengthening their bond with every adventure. After 2 years of dating, Kevin and Claire were certain that they wanted to spend their lives together. Kevin, ever the romantic, orchestrated a surprise proposal during a summer trip to Venice in the year 2000. As they glided down the canal in a gondola beneath a breathtaking sunset, Kevin got down on one knee and proposed to Claire. Overwhelmed with emotion and happiness, Claire joyfully accepted. Upon returning from Venice, they eagerly began planning their wedding. Kevin and Claire's wedding took place in the fall of 2000 in a picturesque garden on the outskirts of Los Angeles. The ceremony was intimate and warm, surrounded by their closest family and friends. Claire looked stunning in a pure white, elegant wedding dress, while Kevin was dapper in a classic black suit. They exchanged vows under the gentle golden rays of the autumn sun, accompanied by melodious music and the applause of their loved ones. Their marriage began in the fullness of love and harmony. As they continued to build a joyful life together, overcoming challenges and celebrating life's pleasures. Kevin and Claire's love was more than just romantic. It was built on a deep understanding and strong bond that formed a solid foundation for their family life. After a year of marriage in 2001, they welcomed their first child, a daughter named Chloe Smith. Chloe's arrival was a precious gift that filled their hearts with boundless joy and happiness. Kevin and Claire adored their daughter, showering her with love and care from the moment she was born. Chloe thrived in the warm and nurturing environment her parents created, growing into a cheerful and innocent girl beloved by all who knew her. Determined to give Chloe the best upbringing, Kevin and Claire always strived to provide a safe and supportive home where she could grow both physically and mentally. They frequently organized family trips, taking Chloe to new places to explore the world and learn about different cultures and experiences. As Chloe entered her teenage years, she began to blossom into a beautiful and charming young woman with long, shiny hair and a bright, captivating smile. She quickly became the center of attention at school, drawing admiration from peers and turning heads wherever she went. Boys at school started noticing her, and Chloe found herself in the spotlight during social activities. Claire watched with pride as her daughter matured, becoming more confident and attractive with each passing day. However, Chloe's transformation did not go unnoticed by Kevin. While his love and protective instincts towards his daughter had always been strong, Kevin began to experience an unsettling shift in his feelings. What was once a father's pure affection started to take on a strange and disturbing nature, foreshadowing the tragic events that would soon unfold and irrevocably change their lives. A family torn apart, the dark secrets that shattered the Smiths. Initially, the relationship between Kevin and his daughter Chloe was pure and close, characterized by the natural bond between father and daughter. However, as time went on, Kevin's feelings began to shift in ways that he couldn't fully understand or explain. His care and attention towards Chloe started to change, evolving from paternal affection into something far more troubling. Claire, both as a devoted mother and loving wife, remained oblivious to these changes. To her, Kevin was still the ideal husband and a dedicated father to Chloe. The family continued to lead a seemingly peaceful life, but the new emotions brewing in Kevin's heart began to threaten the tranquility they had built. Since 2019, as Chloe reached adulthood and her beauty blossomed, Kevin found himself spending more and more time with her. Activities that he once shared with Claire, such as taking walks, watching movies, or attending social events, were now often spent with Chloe, especially during times when Claire was occupied with work or other commitments. Kevin appeared to find a renewed sense of joy in Chloe's company, a shift that began to alter the dynamics of their relationship. Initially, Claire did not suspect anything unusual. She always trusted her husband and took pride in the close bond he shared with their daughter. However, as time passed, Claire noticed subtle but unsettling changes. Kevin's concern for Chloe seemed excessive, and Chloe, in turn, started to act differently around her father. Claire began to observe furtive glances, awkward smiles, and unnatural behavior during family meals, which increasingly worried her. One evening, as Claire sat alone in the living room, she caught sight of Kevin and Chloe exchanging looks that were far from the usual father-daughter interactions she was accustomed to seeing. These glances were different, and Claire's intuition told her that something was amiss. Despite the unsettling feeling growing in her heart, Claire was hesitant to jump to conclusions. She decided to observe the situation more closely before confronting her suspicions. Over the next few weeks, Claire paid closer attention to Kevin and Chloe's interactions, scrutinizing their behavior and conversations at family gatherings. The tension and awkwardness between them were undeniable, and Claire's sense of unease deepened. Determined to uncover the truth, Claire began to investigate further, checking Kevin's phone emails and even his bank statements for any signs of unusual activity. One day, while tidying up Kevin's office, Claire stumbled upon a bill from a luxury hotel in the city. What caught her attention was that Chloe's name appeared alongside Kevin's on the bill, and they had stayed there on a day Claire distinctly remembered being away from home. This discovery sent a wave of shock and disbelief through Claire. She couldn't fathom the possibility that her husband and daughter could be engaging in such a betrayal behind her back. Claire continued her search for answers, and when she had the opportunity, she checked Kevin's phone while it was left unattended. What she found was a series of messages between Kevin and Chloe filled with ambiguous content. These texts not only contained affectionate words but also mentioned secret rendezvous at hotels. Claire's worst fears were confirmed. The husband she had trusted implicitly and the daughter she had cherished above all else were involved in an illicit relationship. She felt her world crumble beneath her feet, the pain of betrayal cutting deeper than she could have ever imagined. The discovery of large sums of money transferred from Kevin's account to Chloe's only solidified Claire's suspicions. These transactions involved expenses at luxury hotels and services that Chloe could never afford on her own, further proving that their relationship had crossed unforgivable boundaries. With her heart heavy with betrayal, Claire knew she could no longer remain silent. She decided it was time to confront Kevin and Chloe, to force the truth out into the open. Claire carefully planned the confrontation, believing that only a direct and honest discussion could bring answers to the tormenting questions that plagued her every day. She could no longer bear the lies that had infiltrated her family. On April 18, 2020, Claire Mitchell took the bold step of facing Kevin and Chloe, seeking the truth that would ultimately shatter the life she had once held dear. Claire woke up with a heavy heart, her mind swirling with painful and angry thoughts after discovering the horrifying truth about the affair between her husband Kevin and their daughter Chloe. It felt as if her entire world was collapsing around her, the pain of betrayal cutting too deep for her to see any way out of this nightmare. In Claire's mind, a single consuming thought took hold: revenge. As she approached the door, Claire heard unmistakable sounds that confirmed her worst fears. Claire pushed open Chloe's bedroom door, and the sight that greeted her eyes horrified her. Kevin and Chloe were engaging in behavior that shattered the boundaries of morality and decency. Claire stood frozen for a few seconds, feeling as if time had stopped. All the memories of a once happy family, the beautiful dreams of a peaceful future, vanished in an instant. All that remained was searing anger and a profound sense of betrayal. Unable to contain her fury and grief, Claire pulled the gun from her bag. In a blind rage, she aimed directly at Kevin and Chloe and, without hesitation, pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the house, shattering the silence. Kevin and Chloe fell where they stood, with no chance to defend themselves or utter a final word. Blood splattered across the room, and a heavy stillness returned. Claire knew in that moment that her life had changed irrevocably. Standing over the lifeless bodies of her husband and daughter, Claire was overwhelmed by a wave of panic. She stared at the scene, the weight of her actions crashing down on her. The reality of what she had done hit her like a tidal wave. She couldn't stay in this house, couldn't face what had just transpired. In a frantic state, Claire fled from the house, leaving everything behind. She had no idea where she was going. All she knew was that she needed to escape the unbearable truth of her actions. Claire drove aimlessly through the deserted streets of Los Angeles, trying to find a place to hide. Her mind raced, disoriented and consumed by what she had just done. Eventually, Claire remembered an abandoned house in the suburbs, a property she and Kevin had once considered buying. The house had been long deserted, and Claire hoped it would be a place where no one would find her. She drove there and stopped in front of the dilapidated house, her heart still pounding. The gloomy, desolate atmosphere of the house mirrored her own shattered state. Dark, cold, and empty. She walked inside, finding a corner to collapse into. Her hands shook uncontrollably, and chaotic thoughts churned in her mind. Claire tried to make sense of her actions, but peace eluded her. She knew her life was irrevocably broken, and there was no turning back. Meanwhile, back at the Smith household, time passed unnoticed. The house fell into an eerie silence, with Kevin and Chloe lying motionless in the bedroom. 2 days later, a concerned neighbor, noticing the unusual quietness and lack of activity from the Smith family, decided to check on them. What they found was a horrifying scene. Shocked, the neighbor immediately called the police. Police responded quickly to the call and arrived at the Smith residence, where they discovered the bodies of Kevin and Chloe Smith. The once happy home was now a crime scene, and the grim reality of what had transpired would soon come to light. When investigators arrived at the scene, they were stunned by the horrific sight before them. 2 bodies lying lifeless in the bedroom, each with fatal gunshot wounds. The room was eerily silent, the only remnants of life being the bloodstains on the wooden floor. The investigation team began their work meticulously, carefully combing through the scene for any clues. The gun used in the crime was found lying near Kevin's body, and the investigators immediately began collecting fingerprints from it and other items in the room. They knew that gathering every piece of evidence would be essential to solving this case swiftly and accurately. Simultaneously, another group of investigators began questioning the neighbor who had discovered the bodies. The neighbor reported that they hadn't seen anyone from the Smith family for the past 2 days, which had prompted them to check the house, leading to the gruesome discovery. This information helped the police determine that the crime had likely occurred days earlier, spurring them to act quickly in their search for the perpetrator. With enough evidence gathered at the scene, the police turned their attention to finding Claire Mitchell, the mother and the only surviving member of the family. Information about Claire quickly spread through various communication channels, and a large-scale manhunt was launched. The police investigated all of Claire's known connections, from friends and relatives to colleagues, but no one had any clues as to where she might have fled. The investigation entered its most intense phase when the police discovered Claire's car abandoned near an old, deserted house in the suburbs of Los Angeles. The investigation team immediately converged on the area, searching the entire surrounding vicinity. The abandoned house stood cold and decrepit, its heavy atmosphere mirroring the gravity of the situation. As the investigators entered the house, they found Claire Mitchell huddled in a dark corner of one of the rooms, her eyes vacant and lifeless. Claire did not resist when the police approached and handcuffed her. Her eyes remained hollow, devoid of resistance or fear, as if she had already accepted her fate. Claire was led out of the abandoned house and into the police car in an eerie silence. She did not utter a single word, her gaze fixed on the void, as if lost in the nightmare of her own making. At the police station, Claire was questioned by seasoned investigators. Initially she remained silent, but after encouragement from her lawyer and the investigators, she began to recount the entire story. Claire detailed every moment, from the instant she discovered the illicit relationship between Kevin and Chloe to her decision to end it all with violence. She explained that her actions were driven by a potent mix of anger and despair. The betrayal by the people she loved most had driven her to lose control. Claire confessed that she could not bear the thought of her husband and daughter, whom she had once trusted implicitly, engaging in such a reprehensible act behind her back. In her hysteria, Claire felt that violence was the only way to put an end to the unbearable situation. Claire admitted that pulling out the gun and shooting Kevin and Chloe was not a premeditated act, but rather the result of an uncontrollable emotional outburst. The investigators listened intently to her testimony, noting every detail she provided, from her motives to her actions following the crime. They observed that despite her confession, Claire was still overwhelmed with indescribable grief and guilt. She repeatedly spoke of the feelings of betrayal and despair that had driven her to the brink of insanity. It seemed that Claire had not fully grasped the severity of her actions. After the interrogation concluded, Claire was detained pending trial. Her lawyers began preparing a complex defense, aiming to reduce her sentence by arguing mental instability and the unique circumstances surrounding the crime. Meanwhile, Claire's days in prison were filled with remorse and torment. Every day felt like a nightmare from which she couldn't wake. She could not find peace or forgiveness, either from herself or for what she had done. Claire knew that her life had irrevocably changed, with no hope of returning to the life she once knew. She often wondered if she could ever live with the guilt, and whether she could find forgiveness from her deceased relatives or from herself. Claire Mitchell was trapped in a vicious cycle of suffering and torment with no way out. Her trial took place at the end of 2020 and quickly became a sensational event, attracting widespread public and media attention. The story of a mother who killed her husband and daughter in a fit of rage left many in shock. The courtroom was packed with people, from reporters to curious citizens, who came to witness the case unfold. Throughout the trial, Claire Mitchell appeared haggard and mentally devastated. She admitted to all her crimes, denying nothing. Claire's defense attorney argued that she had acted impulsively, unable to control her emotions when she discovered the painful truth about the inappropriate relationship between her husband and daughter. The attorney emphasized that Claire was pushed to the brink of despair and, in a moment of lost control, committed an unthinkable act. However, the prosecution presented a completely different argument. They contended that Claire's actions were not merely impulsive, but a deliberate act of murder. Evidence presented showed that Claire had planned the act in advance, including preparing the gun and returning to the house after pretending to leave, only to commit the murder. The prosecutor emphasized that regardless of her emotional state, Claire still had time to think and make a choice. But she chose the path of sin. After many days of trial and deliberation, the court concluded that Claire Mitchell had committed premeditated murder. The jury unanimously agreed that, despite Claire's pitiful circumstances, it was undeniable that she had intentionally killed her husband and daughter. The court sentenced Claire Mitchell to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Claire received the sentence with a blank expression, as if she had already accepted her fate. With this sentence, Claire Mitchell's life was officially buried behind bars, and her tragic story became a haunting warning about the irreversible consequences of anger and despair. Closing our video for today. Thank you for watching.